My question is for Shadi. So I was working at I want to know I was working at a job. I had a 401k with them, but I left, and that money still tied up in that 401k there. I want to move it, but I want to know my best option to move it without to avoid paying the taxes on it.
Yeah, definitely. You want to move into
Like what accounts can I move it to?
Yeah, I'm sure on the site, Caleb, a lot of people ask this question about rollovers. So I would love to get your opinion on it as well. But rollovers, when I was heavy in my financial planning practice, made up about 70% of my financial planning practice, helping people roll over old 401ks or retirement accounts is very common. And most people, the majority of their investments are in retirement accounts. Like the average person doesn't have $100,000 in a brokerage account or, 300,000 just in their Robinhood account. Some do, but most people don't. But a lot of people have 50,000, 75,000, 100, 200,000 in their 401k. So being that it's the majority of a lot of people's assets, it's important to make smart decisions. So you can definitely roll it over into an IRA, but outside of that, I'll say why it's a good idea to roll it over from a 401k into an IRA when the money's out of old 401k is pretty much frozen in a sense. Not frozen where it's not growing, but frozen where you can't borrow from it, you can't add to it. You're stuck whatever choices that the old company provides for you. So like if you have Fidelity, they might give you a menu of like 20 different options that you get to pick and choose from, and you don't really even get customer service help. Like if you call customer service, they can you can tell them what to do. But if you ask them for advice, like legally, they're not going to give you advice over the phone. So you're pretty much just like fending for yourself. And then you might move and then you don't update your address. So it's very problematic to leave an old 401k at your old job. That's just my opinion. So being that you can roll it over into an IRA without, paying any taxes, any penalties, you definitely want to explore the IRA rollover. Now, there's different ways that you can roll it into an IRA. You can work with an advisor and have them help you with it, or you can do it yourself. Any brokerage account, like Fidelity, TD, any of those type of brokerage accounts, you can open a traditional IRA. And then the process is you would call the 401k company. First, you open up the IRA, you get an account number. So then you call the 401k company and you say, I want to roll over this 401k into my IRA. A lot of the companies, especially like Fidelity, they let you do it over the phone, and they send you a check, and then you just forward the check to the IRA custodian. Sometimes you have to fill out paperwork and then they transfer it for you. But either way, you communicate with the 401k company and tell them that you want to roll it over. So you don't necessarily have to know exactly what you want to invest in and roll it over, because it can be held in a money market account, which is like, sitting on the sidelines. And then when you decide how you want to invest, then you can invest the money. Target date funds is always a good option. Similar to how they have a 401ks, a lot of brokerage accounts allow you to invest in target date funds like 2020, 2030, 2040, 2050. The idea with retirement is that you want to be aggressive when you're young and conservative as you get older. So the target date fund automatically becomes more conservative as you get closer to that target date. The target date is the date that you plan on retiring. Of course, you can take, the strategies that we've talked about on Market Mondays, where you can invest in index funds, you can invest in ETFs, you can invest in individual stocks. I wouldn't recommend being too overly aggressive with the retirement account. Yeah, like you don't want to do a bunch of penny stocks and things of that nature. But I would recommend if you're not going to do the target date funds, maybe have 4 to 5 investments that you want to invest in. I would say the majority should be index or ETF, because that gives you broad range exposure. Like one ETF, you can have 30 different stocks in it. And then of course, with the index, you invest in S&P 500, you have 500 stocks in it. And then maybe if you want to have like 1 or 2 anchor companies like a Microsoft or an Apple, that you feel comfortable with. So yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, that's called Rashad Opedia right there. We be putting that up on the
zoned out. He was like ISO. Go ahead.
He called the ISO, right? ISO.
Good job.
I cleared it out. He said, I'll start moving over.
Well, I'm a facilitator. My role at Market Mondays is a facilitator. We got great talent in Ian. He's like the Kobe Bryant. And then when we get to bring on guests, it's like an all-star. So me and Troy just more facilitate. We pick our shots here and there. Spot shooters. We're just spot shooters. But every once in a while we get to
Clear it out.
have some
Ray Allen
isolation.
and Steph.
Thank you.
He just came. He just
appreciate
came.
it.
Appreciate you, Julian.
Appreciate it.
He just came in and shot 4 3-pointers, grabbed 5 rebounds.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
Going back on the bench now.
Showed up in the fourth quarter, dropped 35 real quick.
Joe's impressive.
Jeremy Lin.
But Rashad, what you mentioned about the check, that you actually get a physical check mailed to you. So people got to pay attention to that if they're going to do that. You get a check like you haven't seen before. If you have a lot of money in there, all of a sudden you're like, oh boy, this is my retirement on a piece of paper. You got to be really careful with that. Take it over to your new custodian or your new broker, wherever you're setting that up. Get that in there as fast as possible. That shocked me when I got mine the first time I rolled over. I was like, whoa. Here's 10 years of work.
Yeah, and a lot of times they send it in regular mail too. So you might have a check for I've seen checks for $1 million, $800,000, and people get nervous. Like they're like, I just got a check for $800,000. What do I do? I'm like, well, forward it to me, and I'll send it. I'll make sure it gets in the right hand.
First thing,
but yeah, no, that's definitely important because a lot of times people and check your mail.
That's true too.
Check your mail too. A lot of times you'd be surprised. A lot of people don't check, including me. I'm terrible at that, but people don't check their mail for weeks at a time. You go on vacation, and then it's like, oh wow, what happened? This guy sent 90 days ago, and I never did anything.
And it expires in 36 hours.
Very important.
Yeah. Onessa, we coming to you. Unmute yourself. You've been unmuted.
Oh my God. Can you hear me?
Yes,
we can.
So excited. Hey guys.
Joy. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you guys doing? Okay.
We're good.
So here's my question. You guys talk a lot about the 2 index and 2 tech, right? Got that. I've been investing in it monthly. But I really do want to do dividend stocks to diversify my portfolio or whatever. So I was trying to figure out what's the best dividend stocks I should get into to diversify my portfolio next.
If you go look at the episode from 2 weeks ago, I literally put out a list of ones that are upward moving. The thing I want you to be very mindful of, especially when
I have a list of it. I remember when you did that, you said Starbucks, Lowe's, Costco, Nike, AT&T. I got it.
So
I hate AT&T. No. I want to be on the record. I hate AT&T.
Okay.
For whatever the dividend pays for the drop that it's had, that is terrifying to me. Now, when my bill was my bill back in the day before Verizon, and there was a whole bunch of
remember that?
Great. But for the last 20 years, I feel like the only thing AT&T is specialized in is paying top dollar for assets at the worst price. So you want your dividend to go up because in theory, I get it. You get a great dividend, but when you actually do it and you're like, the stock dropped 29%, you're not going to be happy with the dividend, especially if it's dragged. Let's say you have a big position and it drags the rest of your portfolio down. You're not going to care about the dividend that it paid. There's a difference between like portfolio management on a paper and like Caleb said, when you're actually doing it and you see the money in there, it is a huge difference. So I would pick ones that have progressively been going up over a 5, 10, 15-year period while giving a dividend, even if it's smaller.
Okay. What's your top 5?
I'm biased, but I know Apple pays a small one, but I like Apple because if I told anyone,
I put Microsoft on my 2 techs, so I got that.
I'll make a list here and drop them for you at the end. Then.
Okay.
My graduates from my school being Forbes, bag drop.
Bag drop.
A mic drop, bag drop.
Bag drop.